Live from WRAL News headquarters in Raleigh, your number one source for local news. WRAL News, coverage you can count on.
And this morning we start out tracking some pockets of rain moving through the area. We're going to show you where that could potentially lead to trouble spots during the early morning commute.
And we're in the WRAL Storm Tracker this morning, keeping an eye out on your morning commute. Coming up, a live look at road conditions. Since President Joe Biden will not seek re-election, the race is on to see who will be Kamala Harris's running mate. Just ahead, why Governor Cooper is being considered as a possible VP pick.
Oh, we have a lot of things to get to this morning. Obviously, Kamala Harris making headlines this morning, and of course, the weather that we've been watching for tonight. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, thanks for joining us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Lovingood.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. Good to have you back in studio with us, Chris, for a nice rainy Monday.
I am rested, and I am here ready to do the news.
Yeah, meteorologist Chris Michaels tracking all that rain we're seeing. We had thunder overnight.
I was about to say, Chris, you're rested after all that thunder and lightning last night. Woke a lot of us up overnight. Thankfully, not tracking any lightning or thunder so far this morning. Apex, though, it's quite a let go of it as you see some of that steady rain in and around areas like Holly Springs, Mooresville by the airport. Also a few showers over downtown Raleigh. It continues to move north and east into parts of Durham and Franklin counties. We've had some heavy rain at time in Wayne County. That's moving into Wilson County and starting to shift farther east toward areas like Greenville, Washington, and New Bern. Back up the view and you see there's not a whole lot developing farther to the south and west. So this is probably the worst of the weather that we see, at least for the next little bit. Morning commute, keep in mind that if the windshield wipers are going, headlights got to be on, temperatures in the 70s by 11 a.m., near 80 degrees. It's going to take some time for the atmosphere to recharge. Once it does so, there's going to be the chance for a few stronger thunderstorms, especially east of the triangle. And this is part of our unsettled weather pattern the rest of the week. Coming up, we'll show you when we expect the heaviest rain this week.
Chris, traffic has definitely picked up in the WRAL Traffic Center. If you look outside this morning, you can see all the wet roads that are happening this morning. We do have the WRAL Storm Tracker out on the roadways this morning. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey is on I-40 eastbound. And Kelsey, what are you seeing at this point?
Well, Ken, we're not seeing too much active rain here at the moment. We are trying to get up on 40 East right now. We are on our way out to Garner, where we're hearing reports of a tree down. But let's take you to video now from earlier this morning at Brandywine Road near Trinity Road. It's about 6 minutes away from PNC Arena. You should see a tree down there. It hit some power lines. Dozens of customers are without power in that area. At last check, Duke Energy crews left there, and NCDOT is there now working to remove that tree. Power has been restored in a lot of areas in Wake County. Zebulon, more than 1,000 customers were without power there, and it looks like that has been restored. So, Ken, what can you tell folks as they're headed out the door this morning?
For the most part, it's been a relatively quiet commute this morning. Guess traffic is beginning to pick up quite a bit. We just got reports of a traffic accident that happened in the downtown area. Right now, we're working to figure out exactly how that's going to affect your morning commute. But at this point, this is an investigation on Blunt Street near Wolf Street, and not causing any problems in this area. But, you know, many of you work in the downtown area, getting ready to head to work this morning. Not anything to worry about. Just look for some police activity in that area if you're going that way. Around the Beltline, we're seeing the usual congestion building on the south side of the Beltline around Lake Wheeler Road. This is usually a trouble spot around Jones Franklin Road, but that's just the usual morning congestion that we see. We're also seeing some slowdown around Lake Boone Trail, as well as coming off of Capitol Boulevard. So definitely this morning, just give yourself some extra time heading out, because it's going to be a wet commute.
Good advice. Thanks, Ken. Democrats are now trying to find a new presidential ticket months before the election. President Joe Biden's decision to leave the race is sending shockwaves through the political world. The Biden campaign is now fully backing Vice President Kamala Harris, but Harris is not officially the nominee. The Democratic National Committee plans to use a virtual call to nominate a candidate in early August. It could also choose to open its convention to nominations. Biden says he'll address the nation about his decision later this week. And we begin with Laura Levine, who is live at the Legislative Building in Raleigh this morning. And Laura, analysts say that Governor Cooper is on the list to potentially be the VP pick.
The race to be Kamala Harris's running mate has already started. We know speculation began swirling pretty quickly on who that person would be. A familiar face here in North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper. Among those being considered, we know Cooper is on that list, that short list, as a possibility at this time. It was just last week when he joined Harris on the campaign trail in Fayetteville. Now, the logic behind his potential VP pick boils down to a few reasons. For one, he's a Democrat proven to win in a right-leaning swing state that could pull more people in North Carolina and conservatives across the country. To be frank, he hasn't lost a race, which is pretty impressive to the Democratic Party. Political scientists also note Cooper has made it through his entire political career without major scandals, making him a safer pick.
He'd be very strong, I would say that probably any year, but I think in this particular context, especially if Harris is at the top of the ticket, I think he would have some unique strengths, starting with the fact that he knows Harris, they trust each other, they work well together, and I wouldn't underestimate the importance of that.
Now, WRAL did ask Cooper last week when speculation began to grow on this. He said he hadn't had a conversation on this topic. However, we know things can change pretty quickly. Governor Cooper did endorse Kamala Harris. In a statement, he said she has what it takes to defeat Donald Trump and lead this country. He says he looks forward to campaigning for her. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And for more on Governor Roy Cooper's prospects as a Democratic running mate, go to our in-depth story at NC Capitol section of WRAL.com. You'll also find a link to a special episode of the WRAL Daily Download breaking down Cooper's chances.
The rain this morning, along with the after effects of that global tech outage that grounded flights Friday morning, it's still causing problems at RDU. We have a live look this morning on your screen, and on the left part of your screen, that's where we find Nick Perlin at RDU this morning. Nick, we're talking about delays and delays for days.
That's right, Chris, and I've been tracking those delays and cancellations on FlightAware.com all morning, and over 1,000 flights have already been canceled this morning nationwide. 17 of those flights are right here at RDU. Now, this is all stemming from that major tech outage that happened Friday, canceling thousands of flights the entire weekend. We did see on Saturday some of the airlines rebound a little bit and try to make up for some of the passengers who had their flights canceled. But again, these issues are still lingering here this morning. Over 1,000 flights, like I said, have been canceled nationwide, and 17 are here at RDU. I'm going to continue to monitor these numbers for you all morning, and as they continue to fluctuate, I'll be sure to update you on the latest. Live at RDU, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Troopers say 3 people are dead after a head-on crash in Johnston County. The crash happened on US 70 outside Pine Level around 2 o'clock Sunday morning. Troopers say 43-year-old Cameron Jonas was driving a pickup truck the wrong way. He hit another pickup being driven by 21-year-old William McClung. Both drivers died. A passenger in McClung's truck, 53-year-old Mark Braswell, also died. Troopers believe both drivers had been drinking. No one in either truck was wearing a seatbelt.
The husband of an Apex woman found dead at Jordan Lake is due in court today. Omar Drabic is charged with murder after Chatham County investigators say he threw Hadil Himak's body off a bridge into the lake. This happened last August. Deputies suspected foul play and searched the couple's home in Apex and another home in Raleigh. His disposition hearing is scheduled for this morning at the Chatham County Justice Center.
Today, more fencing will be installed around 2 Durham playgrounds where officials found lead in the soil there. Fencing will go up at Lyon and Walltown Park so the state DEQ can analyze soil found to contain high levels of lead. These parks have already been closed. Officials say the additional fencing will help keep people out and ensure safety during the testing. There's no timeline on when these parks will reopen.
Investigators say a worker was killed in an accident at a Rocky Mount water treatment plant. This happened just after 6 o'clock last night at the plant on Leaston Road. The city confirms 19-year-old Trace Christman was working on an electrical box when he suffered a shock. He fell into the water at the pumping station and died on scene. His death is being investigated.
Companies are still reeling from the effects of the global Microsoft outage, the issues they're faced with, and how Microsoft is working to help fix the problem.
And a resilient church group is holding on to precious memories after a devastating setback.
Seeing the church, almost like the death of a family.
how members of a Wilson County congregation are keeping hope after a fire destroyed their beloved church.
And this morning, we give you a live look at Fenton and Cary, where the rain is coming down steadily. Coming up, I'm going to show you the role this plays on the rest of our morning commute. Plus, when we see the chance for some flooding in the Triangle area. That's coming up in less than 10 minutes.
Welcome back. 8:13 on your Monday morning, your gloomy Monday morning. As you look over Wake Forest, you're watching WRAL News, available on YouTube and the WRAL app on your TV or streaming device. A lot of us heard that thunder last night. And Chris, you have a really interesting graphic behind you saying it's actually louder at night, which I believe.
Exactly, yeah, and it's all because of just like basic meteorology science. It's actually kind of cool that this warm air that was above the surface, it was actually cooler at ground level. That warm air above us was helping trap the sound. That's why sometimes on a cold winter night, you can hear a train off in the distance. Really amplifies the sound of thunder. So unfortunately, we didn't think it was that cool when it was happening overnight and waking us up. Thankfully, no thunder or lightning right now. Live look at Fenton and Cary. You see that steady rain that continues to move into the northern half of Wake County, and that's going to continue through areas like North Hills, heading into Franklin County this morning. Again, no lightning to show you on the dual Doppler 5000. There's Franklin County. Rain continues around and north of Lewisburg, continuing to move toward areas like Roanoke Rapids. And the rain has lightened up a little bit in northern Wayne County. It was very heavy at one point in time, but the atmosphere kind of working itself over right now. Chance for some localized flooding and maybe a couple stronger wind gusts this afternoon with scattered storms. And I think most of those are going to be near and to the east of the Triangle. Futurecast showing just that. We've got this front around that kind of acts like a catalyst and really wrings out the moisture like a wet towel. The thing is, we've used up a lot of that energy this morning, so most of our storms are going to be very scattered late afternoon into the evening, and you see how most of those are going to be east of the Triangle as we get closer to about midnight. Areas like Cumberland, Sampson, Wayne, and Wilson counties probably stand a better chance compared to areas like Person and Granville counties. Taking the dog out for a walk, it probably won't last all that long this morning, especially for those of us seeing some pockets of rain, but the additional cloud cover keeps high temperatures in the middle 80s. That's a trend we see especially later this week. Notice that the flow is coming right out of the Gulf. That means some tropical moisture, daily chances for showers and storms, but hey, at least a break from the intense heat. We're not putting any triple digits on the 7-day forecast. That's coming in just a few seconds, but plenty of rain. Look at our rain totals, especially later this week. They'll get above 3 inches. That'll be by Thursday and Friday. Thursday's another day that I expect some localized flooding, but high temperatures 81 to 83. We turn warmer, we turn drier just in time for the upcoming weekend. Ken?
What's happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center? It's been really a wet morning commute this morning. Basically, traffic is beginning to pick up quite a bit here in the 8 o'clock hour here on Fox 50. We do have reports of a crash that happened in the downtown area. I know many of you work in the downtown area trying to get to work this morning, but apparently this is not affecting your commute at all. This is an investigation on Blunt Street near Wolf Street. We're seeing a little bit of a slowdown right there on Wilmington Street, but nothing that's going to make you late for work this morning. But just keep that in mind if you're heading into the downtown area. We want to take a closer look at the Beltline this morning. We can see traffic is definitely slowed down there around the Lake Wheeler Road area, and that's usually the trouble spot this time of the morning anyway. It's probably going to add about 1 or 2 minutes to your commute, so just keep that in mind. The northern side of the Beltline is looking really good this morning. That's usually a trouble spot. Not this morning. Just a little bit of a big tapping going on right there at the Wade Avenue split, but other than that, just give yourself some extra time because it is a wet morning commute.
All right, thank you, Ken. Democrats are pushing for unity as the party seeks its new nominee. But the party is stopping short of fully backing Kamala Harris. DNC Chair Jamie Harrison said that the party will undertake a transparent and orderly process to move forward with a candidate who can defeat Donald Trump in November. Catawba College political scientist Michael Bitzer believes the Democrats will nominate Harris, especially after Biden's endorsement.
If you bypass the first African-American woman to potentially head a ticket, you are going to have to deal with a core base of the Democratic Party and the potential retribution that could bring as well.
And some party leaders say that waiting until the Democratic National Convention starts on August 19th to select a candidate would be too long, Michelle.
And former President Barack Obama is showing his support for President Biden without giving an endorsement for Harris. In a statement, Obama said, in part, Joe Biden has been one of America's most consequential presidents, as well as a dear friend and partner to me. Today, we've also been reminded again that he's a patriot of the highest order.
And former President Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton are getting behind Kamala Harris for president. In a joint statement, the Clintons said they will, quote, fight with everything they have to elect her, end quote. They say America's future depends on this. And they also praised President Biden for standing up for Americans time and time again.
And former President Donald Trump quickly reacted to President Biden's decision to drop out of the race. In a post to his Truth Social platform, Trump said, in part, we will suffer greatly because of Biden's presidency, but we will remedy the damage as he has done, that he has done very quickly.
Independent Senator Joe Manchin is considering re-registering as a Democrat and running for president. That's according to sources close to the West Virginia senator. Senator Manchin registered as an independent in May. Manchin previously joined a growing list of people calling for the president to step aside. And he also called for an open process to replace Biden on the Democratic presidential ticket.
Some airlines and companies are still experiencing issues and delays 4 days after that massive global Microsoft outage. Delta, United, and American were forced to cancel or delay thousands of flights over the weekend. The outage has since been resolved, but the after effects are still being felt. More than 1,200 Delta flights were canceled yesterday. Major hotels had trouble processing payments and checking customers in. And the issue also affected banks, leaving some customers unable to access their money. Costs from the outage could top $1 billion. Microsoft has also released a feature to help repair Windows machines that were impacted.
A Wilson County church engulfed in flames from a lightning strike is in the cleanup process here. See the damage done? The fire just happened Thursday, but it did not stop this congregation from having its Sunday service. WRAL's Laura Levine shares what is keeping this community together.
Sunday service looks a little different for this congregation in Wilson County.
So there's been a lot of hurt in the congregation and in the community with our loss, but there's also a lot of hope that's caused or come about.
The atmosphere, however, is unchanged.
I think just our sense of community and being together. It's a special time that we really need to be with each other and celebrate who we are as a church and not just the misery that we are all dealing with.
Singing and worship fills this fellowship center where services will be held indefinitely. Betsy Lamb says she comes every Sunday when she's able, and that won't change.
I've been in the church 71 years. I moved my membership from the Methodist, I came Presbyterian instead of Methodist, in 53.
A resilient bunch still holding on to precious memories after this devastating setback.
Seeing the church. Almost like the death of a family. I think we'll go through it, but I don't think we'll ever get over it.
Days later, the sermon hits even closer to home for those like Michael Moore who grew up here.
It's heartbreaking. The memories for all of our members are just innumerable, and we know that we will be okay. The building is just a building, and our members are really who our church is, and we will come back strong.
Paintings and this Bible from the altar were salvaged from the destruction, a sign to many to keep relying on their foundation, faith, to get through this.
We're a small but big church with a lot of love, and we have the conviction that with God's help, we will rebuild.
Laura Levine, WRAL News in Wilson County.
And church leaders say that the next steps include preparing for the demolition process, preserving anything possible, and then beginning to rebuild the church.
Jeff Hogan in the WRAL Live Center. I want to bring your attention to the picture of this man, 24-year-old Kevin Lassiter. He was just arrested by Vance County deputies after a chase and a crash. Deputies say Lassiter slammed the marked canine vehicle and took off, and then a chase through the Car Lake area. He hit a truck and a boat trailer, continued through several communities. The vehicle crashed after a pit maneuver on Gilbert Road. He was taken into custody. He's held without bond on 4 counts of assault with a deadly weapon on a government official, felony fleeing with a vehicle, resisting a public officer, injury to personal property. And Lassiter is also charged with DWI by the North Carolina Highway Patrol.
All right, thanks, Jeff. We are just over 4 days away from the 2024 Paris Olympics, and those final preparations are coming together along the River Seine. For the first time in the history of the Summer Olympics, opening ceremony won't be in a stadium, but instead thousands of athletes will make their way by boat on the Seine. The route ends at the Eiffel Tower. Workers are constructing seating and barricades along the river, with seating open to the public. The river is quiet now, but that will be much different in a couple of days. And WRAL is your home for the Summer Olympics. We have live coverage this Friday, July 26th to August 11th on WRAL. Look for live reports from Paris.
As you get into your car, tune to WRAL News Plus on your radio. In Raleigh on 99.3 FM. In Durham, 96.5 FM. And everywhere on 101.5 HD3.
Good morning. Happy Monday. Time now is 8:26. I'm Michelle McConaughey. A little gloomy start to your week. Meteorologist Chris Michaels tracking what's left over of the rain this morning.
Exactly. Tough to get out of bed on a Monday morning, especially when it's raining out there. But yeah, you got what's left of our showers. They're pretty light, pretty scattered, continuing to move to the north and east. And the atmosphere kind of recharges a little bit. And we get that chance for some scattered strong storms, especially later in the day, most of which look like they'll be east of the triangle, but still could pack a punch. Wind, the main threat. There is a little bit of spin in the atmosphere, so we'll have to keep an eye on that, especially again in areas just east of the triangle. Localized flooding a possibility today, and then again on Thursdays we see rounds of showers and storms continuing off and on throughout the week. Coming up on Fox 50, we're going to show you how much rain we expect to accumulate. Ken?
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. Some incidents really just popped up in the last several minutes over on Fox 50. I'll give you an update at the bottom of the hour. But elsewhere around the triangle this morning, we see definitely traffic is picking up on the Beltline for sure. We want to take a closer look at that situation and show you exactly what we're talking about this morning. You can see the south side of the Beltline. That's where the traffic is picking up around Lake Wheeler Road. Well, things are really looking good on the north side of the Beltline around Lake Boone Trail. So keep that in mind if you have an opportunity to choose which section of the Beltline you'd like to navigate this morning.
Thanks, Ken. The husband of an Apex woman found dead at Jordan Lake is due in court today. Omar DeBrick is charged with murder after Chatham County investigators say he threw his wife into the lake last August. Deputies suspected foul play and searched 2 homes in Wake County. A disposition hearing is scheduled for this morning. Next on Fox 50, why some experts say Governor Cooper is strong contender to join Kamala Harris on the Democratic ticket. And next on Today, a special look at the Notre Dame Cathedral ahead of the Olympics.
Shot in 4K ultra high definition. Your number one source for local news. WRAL News. Coverage you can count on.
And once again, our stormy pattern continuing. We're tracking showers moving out of the area this morning, but coming up in just a little bit, I'll show you the timing and location of more storms later in the day.
And this morning, it's been a bit of a messy start. Some improvements, though. There are reports of downed trees in different areas, including one that's blocking a road in Wake County in a neighborhood. The WRAL Storm Tracker is tracking the road conditions to keep you safe during your morning commute.
Flights are being delayed still Monday morning after Friday's major tech outage. Coming up, we'll tell you how many flights have been canceled.
Quite a bit. Still affecting people after that blue screen of death that a lot of people saw across their screens.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us here on WRAL News and Fox 50. I'm Chris Loving.
And I'm Michelle McConaughey. A lot of people still stuck at the airport, still trying to get out. A lot of flight cancellations. I'm flying out later this week, so I hope everything's going to be resolved. But we'll get to Nick coming up. First, we have to get over to meteorologist Chris Michaels. Not raining anymore in North Hills. Pretty clouds, pretty sky.
Exactly, yeah. So you're starting to see some of the leftover clouds rising a little bit. It's that warmth and humidity that will continue to rise and form maybe some scattered storms as we head later in the day. There's your look at radar over parts of Wake County, and you see that rain continuing to move out of Wake County. Really has lightened up and fizzled out as the atmosphere has kind of used up its available energy so far this morning. See some showers in eastern Wilson County. We're done with the rain for the time being in Wayne County, but there's that front that we've been tracking pretty much since the beginning of the weekend. It's been hanging out with us and extending its stay. Warmth and humidity building ahead of that is going to lead to another chance for showers and storms. That'll happen this afternoon. At steady rain moving out just after the morning commute, most of our rain is done by midday, but it's that second round after 2 or 3 p.m. that could potentially be strong. Level 1 risk for severe weather, especially near and to the east of the triangle this morning. And so you see that scale goes from a level 1 to a level 5. It's a low end threat, but still worth keeping an eye on heading into the afternoon.
All right, happening now in the WRAL Traffic Center. We do have a few incidents popping up right now because it has been really a wet morning commute, not necessarily a messy one, just really a wet one. We, of course, have the WRAL Storm Tracker out on the roadways this morning. WRAL's Kelsey Coffey joins us now. Right now, you're on South Saunders heading toward Garner. What are you seeing out there right now?
Ken, right now we're seeing that everything is all clear, but we have had several reports of downed trees. So right now we're actually on our way to see one of those trees down on a home in Garner. But you can take a look here at the roads. Not too wet in this particular area. We know that we reported about several power outages out in Zebulon. Most of those have been cleared out now. But if you take a look at this video, this is from Brandywine Road near Trinity Road. It's about 6 minutes away from PNC Arena. A tree was down there at last check. Duke Energy crews have left that area, and NCDOT is now working to remove that tree. So, Ken, what can you tell folks about their morning commute?
Right now, quite a few incidents have popped up in the last half hour, so we want to bring your attention to, just to be on the safe side, because I know some of you are getting ready to head out this morning. This crash just happened really near South Saunders Street in the northbound lane at I-40. You can see it's causing quite a bit of backup there along Iliagnis Road. This is near Sam's Club right there in that intersection. Just keep that in mind if you're heading out that way. Another crash that we've been looking at this morning in the last half hour or so. This one just happened on the Wilmington Street, the I-70, the split right there in West Raleigh. It's the split between Fayetteville Road and Highway 50. It's not causing any problems in that vicinity, so nothing really for you to worry about. Just wanted to let you know that. I know a lot of you take I-540 as an alternate route. There's a crash in the westbound lanes near Creedmoor Road. As you can see, it's not causing any major problems in that particular area, but we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown there in those westbound lanes just before Creedmoor Road. So just keep that in mind if you're about to head out.
Ken, thank you. Election Day is just 15 weeks away, and right now the Democratic ticket is without a candidate. President Joe Biden's decision to drop out is leaving Democrats little time to establish a new nominee to challenge Donald Trump. The Biden campaign is fully backing Vice President Kamala Harris. The Democratic National Committee plans to use a virtual call to nominate a candidate in early August, and it could also choose to open its convention to nominations. Biden says that he will address the nation about his decision sometime this week. We're going to go to WRAL's Laura Levine. She is at the Legislative Building in Raleigh this morning, and she explains that Governor Roy Cooper is on the short list to be the new vice presidential nominee.
The race to be Kamala Harris's running mate has already started. We know speculation began swirling pretty quickly on who that person would be. A familiar face here in North Carolina, Governor Roy Cooper. Among those being considered, we know Cooper is on that list, that short list, as a possibility at this time. It was just last week when he joined Harris on the campaign trail in Fayetteville. Now, the logic behind his potential VP pick boils down to a few reasons. For one, he's a Democrat proven to win in a right-leaning swing state that could pull more people in North Carolina and conservatives across the country. To be frank, he hasn't lost a race, which is pretty impressive to the Democratic Party. Political scientists also note Cooper has made it through his entire political career without major scandals, making him a safer pick.
I think he'd be very strong, and I would say that probably any year, but I think in this particular context, especially if Harris is at the top of the ticket, I think he would have some unique strengths, starting with the fact that he knows Harris, they trust each other, they work well together. And I wouldn't underestimate the importance of that.
Now, WRAL did ask Cooper last week when speculation began to grow on this. He said he hadn't had a conversation on this topic. However, we know things can change pretty quickly. Governor Cooper did endorse Kamala Harris in a statement. He said she has what it takes to defeat Donald Trump and lead this country. He says he looks forward to campaigning for her. Laura Levine, WRAL News in Raleigh.
And for more on Governor Cooper's prospects as a Democratic running mate, you can go to our in-depth story at NC Capital section of the WRAL.com website. You'll also find a link to a special episode of the WRAL Daily Download podcast breaking down Cooper's chances.
Harris says that she is honored to get President Biden's endorsement to replace him in the race. In a statement, Harris called Biden's decision a selfless and patriotic act. She says that he is putting the American people and our country above everything else. Harris also shared that she plans to earn and win the Democratic Party's nomination. She said, in part, I will do everything in my power to unite the Democratic Party and unite our nation to defeat Donald Trump and his Extreme Project 2025 agenda.
North Carolina's Democratic Party is showing its support for Kamala Harris. In a post to social media, the party put its endorsement behind Harris. It said putting her against Donald Trump would be, quote, a prosecutor against a felon, an experience against extremism.
Chris, WRAL spoke with voters in the Triangle to get their thoughts about President Biden's decision to drop out of the race.
I know that Joe Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris. But I am hopeful that we might get another candidate.
I think it's the politically correct thing to do. I think for the party, it's probably one of the weakest candidates they have because she's just not liked.
And right now on WRAL.com, you can check out where the VP stands on key issues like abortion and immigration. And you can go to WRAL.com for full coverage for Biden's decision to drop out and the decision the Democratic Party needs to make about a new candidate. You can find it all in the NC Capitol section on WRAL.com.
All right, so you've got the weather this morning affecting some flights, but you also have the after effects from the global tech outage from last week. These things are causing problems at RDU, where you're looking live this morning, and that's where WRAL's Nick Perlin is. Nick, he already have been there this morning. There have been quite a few flight cancellations, delays. What else are you seeing?
Well, I have also seen people, lines behind me, they were long at one point, and I will say they have died down, but that isn't stopping the number of cancellations continuing to increase. I just refreshed the page, and now I'm seeing that 19 flights here at RDU have been canceled, as well as over 1,000 nationwide. Now, this is all stemming from Friday's major tech outage that caused thousands of flights to be canceled throughout the weekend. On Saturday, we did see some travelers say the airlines were rebounding well, but still didn't stop them from being their flights being canceled or delayed and stopping them from getting to where they need to be. Obviously, these issues are still lingering today. Like I said, over 1,000 flights have been canceled nationwide and 19 now here at RDU. I'm going to continue to monitor these numbers all morning, and I'll update you as they continue to change. Live at RDU, Nick Perlin, WRAL News.
Today, a former Wake County teacher arrested on 12 counts of assaulting students with disabilities is expected in court. WRAL has been investigating claims that James Rensher abused students with special needs at East Wake High School back in 2022. After our reporting, law enforcement got involved and charged Rensher last month. The North Carolina Department of Public Instruction says they are investigating the situation.
Students in Durham Public Schools' year-round schedule are returning to class today. And this year, 4 more schools are offering the year-round program. We're talking now about a total of 7 schools. Anthony Lewis will begin his role as the district's new superintendent. That starts August 12th. He inherits a school district that's had a rocky few months with protests over salary issues, closing schools multiple times this spring. The director of the Secret Service will be at the center of a high-stakes hearing today. Just ahead, what Kimberly Cheadle is expected to address about former President Trump's attempted assassination as many Republicans call for her to resign.
Plus, a couple found a rare artifact once belonging to George Washington. Where they found this piece of history and how much it could be worth.
Now, let's get you a live look this morning at Roxborough. A little spooky, a little gloomy out there with the rain that we've seen today. There's a chance for storms every day this week. Meteorologist Chris Michaels will tell us how much rain we can expect. Southeast Wake County, there plenty.
All right, we'll get to work on some of those microphone issues we're having this morning. Meanwhile, Weather Watchers picture from just a few nights ago, thanks to Keith in Lillington. I think a lot of us saw a similar picture just overnight. Thankfully, not tracking any lightning right now. In fact, most of our rain moving out of the area, just a few spotty showers north and east of the triangle. Now that the morning commute is starting to wrap up a little bit, things will start to improve, at least for the next few hours. Atmosphere is going to take some time to recharge, and once it does so, we see the chance for some localized flooding. That's the left-hand side of your screen, that level 2 threat. And on the right-hand side of your screen is the level 1 chance for some severe thunderstorms. Actually, a little bit of spin in the atmosphere, so we'll keep an eye on that heading deeper into the afternoon. Futurecast, here we are, 10 o'clock in the morning, maybe a stray shower or two, but there we go, especially east of the triangle, heading deeper into the afternoon after 1:30, 2 o'clock. That's when you start to see the chance for maybe a handful of stronger storms. 3:15, that's what radar may look like. We'll fast forward to about 6 p.m. And again, you'll notice the trend is going to be for most of our scattered storms to be near and to the east of the triangle this afternoon and this evening. They're scattered, but they could pack a punch for us. After 11 p.m., maybe a few stray showers around. Don't expect it to be quite as loud or widespread as what we saw last night. Yard work planner, overcast for the next few mornings. Grounds are soggy, though. Temperatures mid-80s. That's all we manage this afternoon with scattered afternoon and evening storms. This is a pattern that's going to continue throughout the week. I'm going to start things out with this afternoon. Watch as this plays through for the next 5 days. Low pressure barely moves, so we continue to get that flow of moisture with the most widespread rain expected by Thursday. And it's going to start to add up. Between now and the end of the week, most forecast data showing about 2 to 4 inches of rain. That could lead not to just some localized flooding today, but you see that level 2 threat returning as we get closer to Thursday afternoon as well. In between now and then, looks like that chance is fairly low for us. 7-day forecast, 86 is all we managed today. Tomorrow, we're near 91 for a high temperature. By Wednesday, 89. Then as we head later this week and the rain starts to increase in coverage, you see how cloud cover is going to play a role on our afternoon temperatures. Thursday and Friday, highs only 81 to 83 degrees. Then as we head into the weekend, things will start to improve for us. High temperatures mid to upper 80s with rain chances dropping off a little bit.
All right, thanks, Chris. We are working to learn the name of a man who drowned in the Neuse River. It happened at Raleigh Beach near the Neuse River Greenway Trail and Loch Raven Parkway. The Wake County Sheriff's Office responded to the scene around 5:30 p.m. According to authorities, the man was swimming when he went underwater and never resurfaced. His body has been pulled from the river after a 2-hour search there. This is the third drowning WRAL has reported in this location in the last 2 months.
A man was killed during a crash on U.S. Highway 15501 in Durham. And officers responded to that crash at Marine Road and Coach K Highway just after 5:30 last night. Police say 21-year-old Marvin Ricardo Castillo Torres drove off the road and then crashed into the wood line. Torres was not wearing his seatbelt and he died on the scene.
Happening today, the director of the Secret Service will defend her job before Congress at the U.S. Capitol, where you're looking live. Kimberly Cheadle will talk about how her agency failed to stop the shooter who tried to kill President Trump last weekend. Cheadle has been facing calls to resign from Republicans. Pennsylvania Congressman Brendan Boyle has become the first Democrat to call for her resignation. House Speaker Mike Johnson says that he is forming a bipartisan task force to further investigate the attempted assassination.
Hours after his father dropped out of the presidential race, Hunter Biden had a change of heart. He dropped a lawsuit that he filed last month against Fox News. This lawsuit was over the network's fictionalized miniseries that he alleged included sexually explicit images of him without his consent. It was a dramatized mock trial about Hunter Biden's overseas financial dealings that led in part to his federal tax indictment. Fox News removed the miniseries from its platforms after Hunter Biden threatened to sue, but it's unclear if the timing of President Biden's decision is related to this. And this morning, we are hearing from our state's Democratic congressional representatives about President Biden dropping out of the presidential race. Congresswoman Valerie Foushee shared this photo of herself and Biden on X. She wrote in part, quote, "President Biden is putting people over politics with his decision, and I look forward to fighting for democracy and freedom alongside the president as he finishes his term."
And Democratic Congresswoman Deborah Ross expressed her support toward Biden and Harris in a post on X. Ross wrote, President Biden is a dedicated, selfless public servant who has always put the needs of the American people first. Today, he continued to do just that and solidified his legacy of leadership and service. She went on to push for united support for VP Harris in order to defeat Trump in November.
The Durham County Democratic Party was among the first chapters in the state to endorse Kamala Harris.
She's experienced, she's strong, and she's dedicated. So this statement was incredibly easy for us to just quickly write and get out because it's what we thought.
Dreams around
the party's third vice chair tells us that Harris's views on abortion rights, criminal justice reform, affordable health care, and several other issues align perfectly with their own.
Key West is celebrating the life of its most famous resident, Ernest Hemingway. This year's Hemingway Days are marking 125 years since the legendary novelist was born. A highlight of the festival is the Hemingway Lookalike Contest. Men groom their beards to compete every year, and there's even a Hemingway Lookalike Society in Key West to honor the writer.
And I'm pretty sure they use that opportunity to raise money as well for good cause. So that's pretty cool. A couple says they have found a piece of a tent belonging to President George Washington. Dana Moore says that her husband Richard found this item when he was searching Goodwill online. Now, he paid $1,700 for this artifact, but experts have determined that it is worth tens of thousands of dollars. For the first time, Moore has donated the tent to the Museum of American Revolution in Pennsylvania, at least for now, but we'll see what happens with that afterward.
That's quite the investment to make, right?
It is.
Well, Travis and Jason Kelce teaming up with General Mills for a new breakfast option. The cereal brand announced that the football stars will create their own cereal called the Kelce Mix. It's a mix of their top 3 favorite cereals, Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Lucky Charms, and Reese's Puffs. Where do I get this? This is amazing. There will also be 4 different limited edition collectible boxes featuring Jason and Travis.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea on paper. We'll see in practice.
I think it's going to be good.
Well, you're brave. All right, so look at this 10,000 square foot Olympics megastore. It's set up just in time for the Olympic Games. The store has a ton of T-shirts with the Paris 2024 logo. They also sell a plush mascot of the Olympics. It's called a Frige. And shoppers can find items like the Paris 2024 candles, cards, and windbreakers here. And this megastore is designed for crowds, with organizers saying it can accommodate up to 10,000 customers a day.
And back here in the WRAL Live Center, brand new information on this man, 49-year-old Winfield Smith Jr. This is a Facebook post right around 2019. He pleaded guilty Friday to second-degree murder and felony obstruction of justice in Sampson County. It all stemmed from a horrific scene in February of 2019 where investigators say he killed his wife, Barbara Smith, with a sword. Smith was sentenced to 300 months for second-degree murder and a minimum of 8 months for felony obstruction of justice. Doctors say at the time of the homicide, Smith was so mentally ill and delusional, he could not appreciate right from wrong.
That's just so sad. All right, thanks, Jeff. Twisters is spinning its way to a huge opening weekend at the box office, and hip-hop fans can get their hands on some limited edition items to celebrate 30 years of an iconic album. Here's David Daniel with the Hollywood Minute.
We got PhDs from NASA, FEMA, and Kate, she's the smartest person I know.
The huge opening weekend success of Twisters may have been due in part to the star's preparation for the tornado flick, one star in particular.
Daisy's the greatest student I've ever seen. The amount of notes and preparation, and we went to the National Weather Center, and she knew more than some of the meteorologists there already. She came so ready for this character, and it really shows on screen.
Here's a blast from the past. It's been 30 years since Beastie Boys' Ill Communication hit #1 on the Billboard 200. Fans can celebrate with 2 limited editions of the rap classic out Friday, a 3-LP deluxe edition based on a rare limited run from 2009 that's long been out of print, and a cassette